There is someone you envy, you may not admit it out loud, but when you see them, something stirs inside you. It's not hate, it's not bitterness, it's a mirror, a painful reminder that you were meant for more. You envy them because you know you could have been them. You recognize their greatness because it whispers to your own, buried, dormant, ignored. You don't envy their clothes or their house or their car. You envy the power in their eyes, the certainty in their posture, the command they have over their life. And here you are, scrolling, waiting, wishing. But envy is a gift if you're bold enough to listen, because envy doesn't lie. It's your soul screaming, wake up. That's who you could be. That's who you should be. And yet you settle. You settle for average friends with average dreams. You settle for distractions instead of discipline. You settle for survival when you were built for supremacy. What's the difference between you and the person you envy? It's not talent, it's not luck, it's not intelligence, it's standards. They raised theirs. You haven't. They stopped negotiating with weakness. They stopped flirting with failure. They stopped telling the world they would change and started proving it. You think success is complicated. It's not. It's just hard. Hard to be honest with yourself. Hard to say no to comfort. Hard to show up when no one's watching. But here's the brutal truth. The only thing standing between you and the person you envy is work. Work you don't want to do. Work you know you need to do. But every time you hesitate, every time you procrastinate, every time you break a promise to yourself, you become the person you hate a little more. And that's the sickness of modern life. We are constantly surrounded by reminders of who we could be, but rarely do we have the courage to become it. Do you think Carnegie, Hill, Ford, or Lincoln were born with confidence? No, they built it, brick by brick, with blood, with focus, with nights they didn't sleep and mornings they didn't complain. They were obsessed with their vision, possessed by their purpose, unwilling to trade who they could be for the comfort of who they were. That's what you need now. Obsession, conviction, the kind of inner fire that makes laziness feel like betrayal. You must stop making peace with mediocrity. Stop petting your excuses like pets you plan to keep. Stop envying the strong, the wealthy, the driven, and become one of them. You weren't born to spectate. You were born to dominate. But domination requires discipline. Domination requires vision so strong it burns your comfort zone to the ground and builds a new life out of the ashes. You must become the kind of person who demands results, not just hopes, not just tries, not just wants it. You must be the person who gets up at 5 while everyone else sleeps, who studies while everyone else scrolls, who trains when no one claps, who builds a mind so dangerous the world doesn't know what to do with you. Do you want to know the most terrifying truth? You are already equal to the person you envy. They just made a different decision. They chose growth. You chose comfort. They chose obsession. You chose distraction. They chose the path of pain, knowing it would make them unstoppable. You chose the path of ease, and now you feel stuck. But you're not stuck. You're just scared. And that fear is the threshold. You either face it or you repeat the same year of your life over and over until you die full of regrets. There is only one question that matters now. Will you become the person you envy or die the shadow of who you could have been? The world doesn't care who you are. It only responds to how you think. Before you speak, before you act, before you rise or fall, it begins with the mind. The mind is the master key, and most people, they've handed it over to fear, to excuses, to doubt dressed up as logic. They build their life around limits, then wonder why nothing changes. But the ones who win, they start in a different place. They start in silence, in the shadows, not with perfect conditions, but with a choice, a decision to take back control of their most powerful weapon, their thinking. Because everything you want, the wealth, the clarity, the confidence, the impact, it all begins in the mind. And until you master that battlefield, nothing on the outside will change, not for long. Building a mind that wins is not about having positive thoughts. It's about learning to command your thoughts, to train them like a soldier trains a blade with discipline, precision, and purpose. You don't need to wait until life gets easier. You need to get stronger. You need to take that inner voice that keeps playing on repeat, the one that says, maybe, someday, I don't know, and you need to rewrite it. Burn it if you have to, because that voice is not yours. It was built by a world designed to keep you average. If you were born into fear, into chaos, into poverty, fine, but you do not have to stay there, because the mind is the great equalizer. It does not care where you start. It only reflects what you believe. That is why two people can grow up with the same struggle, the same pain, the same setbacks. One rises, the other repeats. One chooses discipline, the other waits for motivation. One builds a mind that serves them, the other becomes a prisoner to their own thoughts. Henry Ford said it best. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. It's not a quote, it's a warning, because the subconscious mind is always listening. Every time you say, I'm tired, it takes note. Every time you say, I'm not good at that, it obeys. Every time you say, that's just how I am, it makes it so. And yet, that same mind, trained and sharpened, can become a force so powerful it bends reality. That's what Carnegie did, what Edison did, what Disney did. They weren't born with genius. They were born with agency, and they chose to use it. They created a mental blueprint that refused to lose. They conditioned themselves to see possibility where others saw risk. They visualized their victory, not once but daily, obsessively, relentlessly, until the world caught up. You don't wait for a winning mind to appear. You build it with repetition, with clarity, with daily declarations that don't just inspire you, they become you. You train your thoughts the same way a bodybuilder trains his frame, not once, not when convenient, but constantly. Because the mind, left on autopilot, will drift, it will shrink, it will echo every limiting belief you've ever absorbed unless you replace it with truth. The truth is, you are not your thoughts. You are the one who commands them, but only if you decide to. Everything changes when you stop trying to improve your life from the outside in and start shaping it from the inside out. You don't need a new strategy. You need a new standard. And standards are not set by what you say you want. They're revealed by what you tolerate, what you allow to continue, what you excuse in yourself. Do you wake up when the alarm goes off, or do you snooze it and lie to yourself that 5 more minutes won't hurt? Do you finish what you start, or do you stack half-built bridges that lead nowhere? Do you train your body, your mind, your craft, or do you numb your time with distractions and justify it with I'm tired? That's where your future is being built, in those silent decisions no one else sees. That's the battlefield where identity is won or lost. The person you're meant to become, they don't wait for motivation. They are governed by purpose. They move with precision. They speak with clarity. They walk into rooms with presence, not because they're faking it, but because they've earned it. Every late night when you wanted to quit but didn't, that's where character was built. Every early morning when the bed begged you to stay, but you chose mission over mood, that's when you rose. Not just in routine, in identity, because becoming isn't something that happens in a moment. It's not found in some big opportunity or breakthrough. It's in the grind, the boring, the mundane, the days you wanted to disappear but showed up anyway. You think kings are born in light, they're born in the dark, in silence, in rejection, in failure after failure, when they still chose to keep going. Do not underestimate how powerful you become when you consistently do what others avoid. That's what makes you rare. That's what builds the kind of internal gravity that pulls opportunity toward you. Not because you begged for it, because you became the kind of person who attracts it. You don't chase success. You build a version of yourself so aligned, so undeniable, that success has no choice but to show up. You think Tesla built his empire by waiting for the right mood? He slept in his lab. He worked through illness. He thought in years, not minutes. He didn't just act like a genius. He lived it day in, day out, without apology. You want to become the person you're meant to be? Then stop negotiating with your old self, that version of you, the one who settled, who feared, who avoided hard things. They don't get a vote anymore. You've outgrown them. The mind that got you here won't get you there. The habits that kept you safe won't make you strong. The identity that helped you survive won't help you thrive. So burn the script, rewrite the rules, and stop showing up like you're half committed to your own life. Because the future belongs to the one who acts like they've already claimed it, who walks with the fire of certainty, who makes decisions with conviction, not convenience, who builds without applause, trains without needing validation, creates without asking permission. That's what makes you dangerous, not your talent, your standards, your consistency, your identity, forged, tested, refined. Every step forward from this moment must say, I already am the person I was born to become. Because once you live from that place, the world has no choice but to respond. You already know who you're supposed to be. You feel it in your gut. Not the version of you that wakes up tired, distracted, and doubtful. Not the version that second guesses, apologizes for dreaming, or waits for someone to give permission. No, deeper than all that, there is a version of you that is clear, powerful, disciplined, unstoppable. And the reason you feel that inner tension, it's because you're not acting like them yet. You're still trying to solve future problems with old patterns, still speaking like the old you, thinking like the version that failed, moving like the version that's waiting. But the future doesn't belong to the one who waits. It belongs to the one who becomes. The world doesn't give you what you deserve. It gives you what you match. Your habits, your words, your energy, they broadcast who you are, not who you wish to be, not who you used to be, who you are right now, in this moment. And if who you are is still thinking small, still hoping instead of building, still wishing instead of working, the world reflects that back, not to punish you, but to wake you up. The game changed the moment you realize this. You don't become successful and then act like that person. You act like that person and then you become successful, not the other way around. That means showing up before you feel ready, speaking with clarity before you have proof, moving with intention before you have results, because belief is a discipline, not a mood. Think of Lincoln. He didn't wait to feel powerful. He spoke words that shaped nations even when his own voice trembled. Carnegie didn't wait to feel worthy of wealth. He moved through steel and smoke with a vision so bold it made kings nervous. Edison didn't wait for perfect conditions. He failed his way forward until the darkness surrendered. What if you stopped negotiating with fear, stopped worshiping your limitations, stopped telling yourself stories that were written by weaker versions of you? What if, starting today, you acted like the person you're meant to become, not pretend, not fake, but fully embody, with discipline, with fire, with absolute command? Because the greatest transformation you'll ever experience is not when your bank account changes. It's when your identity changes. And identity is not found, it's forged through daily decisions, through relentless action, through the refusal to let your circumstances write your destiny. You've waited long enough. You've collected enough quotes. You've watched enough videos, heard enough sermons, journaled enough dreams. Now is the time to become. Not tomorrow, not when you have more clarity, not when you feel more confident. Confidence isn't a prerequisite, it's a byproduct. And it only comes to the one bold enough to act before they feel ready. Every time you take aligned action, you cast a vote for your future self. Every time you show up with discipline, you reinforce the identity you're building. And every time you refuse to settle, the universe takes note. But if you keep acting like the version of you that gave up, if you keep repeating the habits of the version that doubted, if you keep reacting like the version that feared everything, then you stay there. You don't grow into your future, you decay into your past. That's the quiet tragedy of most lives. They had greatness inside them, but they never acted like it. Clarity is the first weapon. You cannot hit a target you cannot see. And yet most people stumble through life with fogged up vision, chasing shadows, following crowds, obeying the script they never wrote. They chase money without a mission. They chase validation without values. And in the end, they lose both. If you want to be part of the 3%, you must become obsessed, not with results, but with direction. Ask yourself, not what do I want today, but what must I build for the next 10 years? What legacy must I carve with my life? Not what job pays the most, but what work awakens me. Because when your vision is clear, decisions become easy. Distractions lose their power. Time becomes a weapon, not a burden. And you move through life with the force of a man or woman on a mission. Henry Ford didn't ask what was possible. He asked what was necessary. Lincoln didn't ask for approval. He asked what was right. Walt Disney was laughed out of multiple studios, fired for lacking imagination, and yet he imagined a world that didn't exist and built it anyway. That's the kind of clarity the 3% live with. Not a clarity based on what's safe, but on what's necessary. Necessary for their purpose, necessary for their calling, necessary for the man or woman they were born to become. But clarity means nothing without action. Ideas are cheap. Everyone has them. Execution is the currency of success. And here's where 97% fail again. They wait for motivation. They wait until they feel ready. They confuse emotion with commitment. They pray for the mood instead of training the muscle. Discipline is not about how you feel. It's about who you decide to be, over and over and over again. When it's boring, when it's hard, when it's lonely, when no one claps, that's the forge where winners are made. Motivation whispers, discipline commands, and that's what separates those who wish from those who win. You think Carnegie felt like getting up? You will never become who you're meant to be by clinging to comfort. Growth only comes by stepping into the fire, not once, not twice, but every day, willingly. Because the fire that burns you is the same fire that builds you. You want to become the person you envy? Then start doing the things they do before you feel ready. Don't wait to feel confident. Don't wait to be qualified. Don't wait for the right moment. There is no right moment, only this moment. And this moment demands action. Do what the future version of you would do, not the version that's scared, soft, and distracted. Ask yourself every single morning, what would the strongest version of me do today? Then go be that. You don't need more time. You need more clarity. You need a standard so high it makes your old habits sick to their stomach. Because the person you envy, the one living the life you want, they're not better than you. They just made decisions that you haven't made yet. They paid the price. They didn't just want it. They committed fully, ruthlessly, without a backup plan. They said no to distraction. They said no to comfort. They said no to mediocrity until mediocrity stopped knocking. Most people pray for success while still tolerating weakness. But success doesn't respond to prayers. It responds to standards. Raise yours and watch your life catch up. Refuse to associate with people who normalize laziness. Stop taking advice from people you wouldn't trade lives with. This is war, not against others, but against the lesser version of you, the version that scrolls instead of studies, that escapes instead of executes, that waits for a sign instead of becoming the sign. You were not born to blend in. You were born to break patterns, to create a life that demands explanation, to rise so far above your past, your own memories feel like fiction. But that takes obsession, not interest, not curiosity, but full-blooded, all-consuming obsession with becoming who you know you were meant to be. And if that word scares you, good. Because anything that changes your life will scare you at first. Don't run from it. Use it. Fuel yourself with it. People will call you extreme. Let them. Because extreme results require extreme behavior. Mediocre actions will only ever create a mediocre life. And deep down, you know this. That's why you feel the burn in your chest when you see someone doing what you know you're capable of. That's not jealousy. That's your soul trying to shake you awake. That pain isn't punishment, it's a message. It's the future version of you screaming from the other side, I'm waiting, stop wasting time, step into me. You become the person you envy, not by chasing them, but by becoming the kind of person who doesn't need to chase anyone. When you do that, the world will take notice, not because you asked, but because you became undeniable.